The sticker price of a college is rarely what families actually pay. I want to repeat that because almost nobody internalizes it the first time. The sticker price of a college is rarely what families actually pay. If you're looking at a $90,000 a year private college and thinking, we can't afford that, you might be right. And you might be very, very wrong. The price your family will actually pay can be dramatically different from the number on their website. Sometimes by $50,000 a year or more. Sometimes a lot more. This week, we replace sticker shock with information. Hi, I'm Dr. Heather Case. Welcome to week 12 of From Stressed Out to Standout. Money is one of the hardest parts of this process for families to talk about honestly. So we're going to make it as clear and specific as possible. No jargon, no fear-mongering. Just the math and the tools to do it. There are two terms you need to know cold. Sticker price is the listed cost on the school's website. Total cost of attendance, tuition, room, board, fees, books, travel, everything. This is the number that almost no family pays in full, especially at private colleges with strong financial aid programs. Net price is what your family will actually pay after all financial aid, grants, scholarships, and sometimes loans is applied. This is the number that matters. Now, here's the part that surprises most families. At some private colleges, the net price for a middle-income family is significantly lower than in-state tuition at a public university. Yes, a private school with a $90,000 sticker price might cost less than your state flagship at $30,000, depending on your family situation. Why? You ask? Elite private schools have a large endowment specifically built to fund financial aid. State schools have far less aid to give. The sticker price tells you about the school's marketing, not about what you'll actually pay. Which means the rule of thumb most families operate on, we can't afford private schools, is often wrong. The only way to know what you'll pay is to run the numbers. And this week, I'll show you exactly how to do that. Every accredited college in the United States is required by federal law to publish a net price calculator on their website. Search the school name plus net price calculator and it'll come up. It asks about your family's income, savings, assets, and household size. It uses that information to estimate the financial aid your family is likely to qualify for and the net price you'd actually pay. It's not a promise. Special circumstances like business ownership, recent job loss, or divorced parents don't always plug in cleanly. But for most families, it's accurate within a few $1,000s. That's enough information to make real. Okay, now I'm going to show you exactly how to run a net price calculator for 3 different schools. We are going to run University of Washington as an in-state student, Swarthmore, and Princeton. Swarthmore is a small liberal arts college, and Princeton is a highly selective school. Both Swarthmore and Princeton have generous financial aid policies. We're going to base our calculations on these illustrative numbers that are based on U.S. averages for a family of 4. Your family numbers are going to look very different, so when you complete the calculator, make sure you're using as close to accurate numbers for your own family. But this will just show you how the process works. So first, let's start with the University of Washington. I'm using Google here. You can use whatever search engine works for you, but I've typed in University of Washington net price calculator. I'm going to hit return, and it pops right up. Net price calculator, student financial aid. Here's information you're going to want to read, okay? And each school has their own approach to it, but this button at the bottom will take us to the calculator. I'm going to skip this because we're just doing it for illustrative purposes. It tells me it's informational only. So I put in date of birth, U.S. citizen, state of residence is Washington. This is important because in-state and out-of-state tuition is different for state schools, and University of Washington is a state school. None of these apply, so we're going to hit next. Parents are married or remarried. There's 4 people in the family, and 1 person, the student only, will be in college in the fall. This one breaks the annual income down by separate parents, so we'll put $75,000 a year for parent 1, and we will put $50,000 a year for parent 2. Mark all that apply. So in this case, we are saying that the family has $8,000 in cash and savings. Parents do not own property for investment purposes, and they do not own a business or a farm. Students' total annual income we have as $1,000. We're saying the student has pretty much nothing. They just spend the money as it comes in. So we're going to leave that toggled off. The College Bound Scholarship Program is for low-income students. And for our example, we have a family of 4 with a household income of $125,000 a year. That would make them not eligible to receive the College Bound Scholarship. And we're going to say we're just researching right now. And then next, it's just asking me to confirm this information is correct. Looks right to me. Now, some schools ask you, like, where are you going to live? So we're going to say on campus, and we're going to be Seattle campus. So here it tells you the annual cost. Here's the direct cost, indirect cost, need-based aid right here is $23,885, with institutional grants being $22,607. And so the net price would be $12,861. That would be what the family as a whole would have to come up with for the student to attend and live on campus. UW has a nice little function here where you can do total degree, what the total degree, and what it would cost per semester or term. Awesome. So that's University of Washington. Net price, $12,861. Now we're going to take a look at the net price calculator for Swarthmore. Type it in the Google search, hit enter. Swarthmore College net price calculator comes right up. Swarthmore uses a net price calculator that's available through the College Board website. That's pretty common with a lot of colleges and universities, so we're going to click there and we'll see what that one looks like. So now that we're on their webpage, we're going to go to net price calculators, and then we have to find it in the list. So we're going to click Swarthmore College. It's a private school, so it's not going to matter whether we're in-state or out-of-state, but let's go ahead and get started on their net price calculator. As you see here, you can sign in using your College Board account, so you can either sign in as the parent or the student, but we're not going to sign in today. That would allow you to come back to it a little more easily. We do have to answer the student is answering it. We're still going to say no. 2008, never married. No dependent children, not an orphan or ward of the courts, and not active duty, military for our purposes. Say parents are married. Parents' legal state of residence. It asks, but the tuition is the same no matter what state you're from. And 1 sibling. We'll say 15, and college status is no college right now. We're just going to go with general answers. We're going to say 0 for losses. Now you can see this one is a lot more in depth, and this would be harder for a student to complete, but it is going to give a bit more accurate information. So these fields are required. Based on what Google says, an average tax payment for a family with this profile would be about $6,200. So we'll enter that there, and we'll say that they contributed $12,000 to retirement. No child support. We said $8,000 in checking and savings. We said the parents do own a house, and the house is worth $400,000. Again, we're doing this based on U.S. averages. They still owe $295,000 on their house. We'll say purchase price was $325,000. Let's say they have no other investments. They don't own a business. They don't own a farm, and they don't own real estate except for the house. $0. Let's say they had $3,000 not covered, and the student is in a public school. For this purpose, we're saying Washington. This is all for student. So we said $1,000. We're going to say 0 because at $1,000, the student would not be filing taxes. Zeros for a bunch of this stuff here. We'll say $10, and the student does not have any trusts. Now, for Swarthmore, tuition and fees, you can see are a lot higher. Total cost of attendance is $99,370 a year, and the estimated net price is $18,351. They have that listed as parent contribution, $13,248, student contribution, $2,500, and then the student would also be eligible for student work, which is usually student employment on campus. Now, let's do Princeton. Here's the net price calculator for Princeton. Launch the calculator. We're going to answer the question. So based on the information we entered at Swarthmore, we'll say their taxable income is about $92,800. This would be the amount we said they contributed to their retirement. They have $8,000 in savings. They don't have other investments, no other real estate, no business or farm. We'll just have one student in college. This is asking, do we have any other amount paid for college students, not including Princeton? So nope, no child support. And parents are also located in Washington. Student adjusted gross income was $1,000. Cash and savings is $10, no investment. Student does not own real estate, a business or farm. And we're going to say for this one, they don't have a 529 plan. U.S. two-parent household. This is all the information we just entered, and we're going to hit calculate. Total cost of attendance at Princeton University is $90,574 per year. Then books, everything comes out to $95,924. So at Princeton, it's showing total direct costs minus the estimated grant. Total cost of attendance to attend Princeton, if admitted, is $5,350. So let's take a look at that. Here's Princeton. Total cost $95,000. Student cost $5,350. Now, Swarthmore, total cost of attendance is a little higher, $99,370. Scholarship of $81,019 means the estimated net price is $18,351, and the University of Washington net price is $12,861. So you can see that an in-state state university versus private college, small liberal arts, versus a highly selective school with really phenomenal financial aid, it would cost only $5,000 roughly to attend Princeton versus $12,861 versus $18,351. So this gives you a really good look at what costs might actually be. And again, this is an estimate, but these are usually good within $1,000 to $2,000. Here's the move. Before your student applies anywhere, run the net price calculator at 3 to 5 schools that span different categories. A state school, a mid-tier private, an elite private, a small liberal arts college. Put the results side by side. If the elite private is cheaper than the state school for your family, that changes your strategy, your list, and your conversations. If none of them are affordable without massive loans, that's equally important information. Either way, you find out now, not in April when the acceptance letters are already in hand and the pressure is overwhelming. Let me tell you about a student I'll call Tomás. Tomás is undocumented. His family came to the United States from Mexico when he was 2 years old. He has DACA status. He has lived in his state his entire life, attended public school his entire life, and graduated with a 3.8 GPA, varsity soccer, and a spot at the top of his AP chemistry class. For most of high school, Tomás wasn't sure he could go to college at all. His older cousin, also undocumented, had tried to apply to four-year universities. He'd run into financial walls and ended up taking a path through community college. There's nothing wrong with that path, but Tomás had been just quietly assuming that same path was probably his only option. But Tomás's state had more support for undocumented students than his cousins had. And when we mapped what was actually available carefully and specifically, and then looked at private colleges that met full demonstrated need for all admitted students regardless of citizenship status, the picture changed completely. There are more of those schools than most families realize. Harvard, Princeton, MIT, Yale, Amherst, Wesleyan, Bowdoin, Pomona, Williams, Vassar, Smith. When these schools admit undocumented students, they provide the same financial aid package they would provide to a citizen. Their policies are published, and they mean what they say. Tomás applied to a mix: state universities with in-state tuition available to DACA recipients and private schools that met full need. He got into a private school and a state university. When we ran the actual numbers, the private came in cheaper because of their aid policy. Tomás is on track to graduate in 4 years. The doors were never as closed as he'd been told. I want to take 90 seconds on something very specific. If you are undocumented, DACA, or first-generation American, or if you're a counselor or advocate working with a student who is, here is the financial aid landscape in plain English. For federal aid, you are only eligible for federal financial aid if you are a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen. No FAFSA-based Pell Grants, no federal loans. This is the law. It does not change based on DACA status. This is the starting point, not the ending point. State aid. This depends entirely on your state. About 20 states currently allow undocumented students to pay in-state tuition. Fewer extend state grant programs. Look up your specific state's policy. Search your state name plus undocumented student in-state tuition. Do not assume. Look it up specifically. Institutional aid. This is where it gets genuinely hopeful. There are private colleges that explicitly promise to meet 100% of demonstrated financial need for all admitted students, regardless of citizenship status. Harvard, Princeton, MIT, Yale, Amherst, Wesleyan, Bowdoin, Pomona, Williams, Vassar, Smith, Wellesley, and many more publish these policies. Find the policy before you apply. Trust what's written, not what you've heard or what you've assumed. Private scholarships. Several major programs exist specifically for undocumented students. The Dream.us is the largest, and the URL is on the screen now. Hispanic Scholarship Fund, Golden Door Scholars. Westbridge does not require U.S. citizenship. These are real programs with real money. All of these programs are run by people who do the work every single day. I hope you'll bookmark them now if they apply to you. The doors are not closed. 3 things for everyone to do this week. 1. For 5 schools on your current list, run the net price calculator. Save the results somewhere you can find them. A spreadsheet, a notes file, a document. These are estimates, not promises, but they will give you a real picture of what you're looking at for your family and your unique circumstances. 2. Have a money conversation with your family this week. Specifically, what is the real range your family can pay with manageable loans and without loans that would frighten you? Get a number. It doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to exist. It's a starting point. Having the conversation in September is far better than having it in April after acceptance letters have come in and most colleges are no longer accepting applications for the fall. 3. Compare your net price calculator estimates to your family's number. Where are the gaps? Which schools look financially workable? Which look out of reach without significant additional scholarships? Mark each school on your list financially possible, would need significant outside scholarships, or not realistic. That's the affordability layer of your college list. Money stress is one of the most intense parts of this process, and it's also one of the most preventable. Almost every financial horror story I've heard from families is one that could have been avoided with better information 6 months earlier. The family that discovers a school is unaffordable in April, after the acceptance letter has arrived and the student has fallen in love with it is a far harder place than the family that found out in September. You're doing that work now, this week. That's not just smart, it's a genuine act of care for your own future self and for the people in your family who love you and are carrying this with you. Next week, week 13, is a big week. We go deeper into how financial aid actually works, layer by layer. FAFSA, CSS profile, how to read a financial aid award letter without being misled by the way they're formatted, and a scholarship strategy that actually works for families who think they make too much to qualify. Subscribe so you don't miss anything. Before you go, I want to remind you of something important. You are so much more than your application. Your worth isn't measured by acceptance letters or rejection emails. I want you to know that your story matters. Tell it honestly, tell it bravely, and know that I am always here cheering you on. I'll see you next week.